Santoso with NIM 33.6A.07. And today I want to concentrate about project Sociolinguistic with two topics that I choose is code switching and code mixing. Let's start part 1. Code switching. Sociolinguistic definition. Code switching is the phenomenon of alternating between two or more language or language varieties depending on the situation. It is not a random linguistic error, rather it is a deliberate communication strategy used by bilingual or multilingual speakers. Code switching happens when people change language during conversation. Usually this happens because of the situation or because they want to express something more easily. This phenomenon is common among bilingual or multilingual speakers, and it is considered a communication strategy, not a mistake. Here are some types of code switching. A. Based on grammatical scope. The first one is interstitial. The switch occurs at the sentence boundary. One sentence is in language A, the next is in language B. For example, I think we should go now. Soalnya hari ini sudah mulai mendung. Text switching. The insertion of short phrase or tag from one language into an utterance in another language. Example, you're coming to the party, kan? And B, based on social context. The first one is situational code switching. Situational code switching occurs when the external situation changes, such as a new person joining the conversation or moving to a different setting. Because the situation changed, the language we use also changed. For example, when we were talking with friends using a local dialect, then suddenly a teacher comes, we switch to formal Indonesian. So the change happens because of the situation or the people around us. And the second is metaphorical code switching. Metaphorical code switching occurs when the topic or tone of the conversation change. For example, moving from formal to intimate without any change in the physical setting. For example, during a formal business meeting, the boss suddenly tells a joke using casual language to make the atmosphere more relaxed. So the setting is still the same, but the speaking style changes depending on the mood or purpose of the conversation. Driving factors. Why do people do it? It is crucial to explain the why to your audience. The first one is the speaker. To signal their identity, social status, or linguistic expertise. 2. The listeners. To accommodate the listeners so they feel more comfortable or understand the message better. 3. To change the tone. To shift the atmosphere from serious to relaxed or vice versa. 4. To include, switching to a language that only certain people in the room understand to create a private conversation. And the key characteristic when thought switching occurs, the speaker is fully addressed to the grammar or phonology of the target language. In code switching, the speaker completely follows the grammar and pronunciation of the language they switch into. So when someone changes from one language to another, the structure of the sentence also changes correctly according to the language. For example, if a person switches to English, they will follow English syntax or grammar patterns, not mix them randomly with another language. Another characteristic is that there is no clash of grammar in one phrase. The transition between language sounds clean and natural. This is what makes code switching different from code mixing. In code mixing, people often combine words or grammar from different languages in the same sentence. Meanwhile, in code switching, the speaker clearly changes from one language system to another without mixing the grammar. And we are moving on to topic number 2 is code mixing. Theoretical definition. Code mixing refers to the use of linguistic units, such as words, phrase, clauses, from two different grammatical systems within the same sentence or discourse. Unlike code switching, which is a total transition between sentences, code mixing is incorporative. This means foreign elements are integrated into the structure of the base language without changing the overall grammatical foundation of the sentence. And here are some strategies of code mixing. This is a crucial section for academic presentation. Peter Muskin identifies three main strategies. Inserting a single word or phrase from a foreigner language into the structure of the native language. An example is, don't forget to booking the tickets now. The English word booking is inserted into an Indonesian or Malay frame. 2. Alternation occurs when the structure of both languages alternate, typically at a point where the two languages share a similar grammatical structure. Example, we will eat we will eat out tonight unless you want to cook. And 3. Concrete lexicalization, a situation where both languages share a nearly identical structure, allowing words from both to be used in interchangeable, common and closely related dialects. Level of code mixing. You can explain that code mixing happens at various linguistic depths, and the first one is word level. I am feeling so confused right now. 2. Phrase level. He is such a easygoing person. And 3. Clause level. I've tried to explain, but she didn't listen. When this clause is spoken within one continuous breath or sentence. 4. Hybrid level, or Baxter. Combining a prefix, suffix from one language within a root word from another. For example is ngejudge is Indonesian prefix nge plus English root judge. Another example is di kopi. Indonesia prefix di plus English root kopi. Example. Example number 1. Informal or social context. Honestly, I have a feeling that this project will fall if you are fast moving. The best language is Indonesian, but the speaker used feeling or project and failed to emphasize specific points using English vocabulary. Example number 2. Academic or professional context. Students must pass critical thinking skills to perform a proper review of scientific journals. And the analysis is the term like critical thinking and review are used because they carry a stronger technical meaning in an academic context than their translated counterparts. And there's all my project presentation part 1. Thank you for listening, Miss. And now I want to present project Sociolinguistic part 2. Diagnosia in University Seminar Interaction. Sociolinguistic analysis of formal and informal Indonesian varieties. Case description. In a university seminar, a student used formal Indonesian during the presentation. The same students later used a more informal variety during a discussion with peers. The lecturer consistently used formal Indonesian throughout the session. Main question: why do speakers use different language variety in a different situation? Definition of diglossia. What is diglossia? Diglossia is a social linguistic situation where two language variety are used in a different social context. Charles Ferguson, he explained that he divided the language varieties into height variety, used in formal situations such as education, speeches, seminar, and official communication, and low variety, usually used in a formal situation such as casual conversation, peer interaction, and daily communication. Analysis of the situation. There are formal presentation and discussion with friends. Formal presentation, height variety. The student use standard grammar, formal vocabulary, academic expression. Example, berdasarkan ketentuan ini dapat disimpulkan bahwa and in low variety, the students change to relaxed expression, colloquial intonation, informal pronunciation, dan an example is kayaknya tuh lebih gampang dipahami sih. Why does diglossia occurs? And there's a reason behind the language shift. And the first reason is social context. In social context, different situations require different language style. Formal situation to formal language. Informal interaction is the same as casual language. 2. Participant relationship. The speakers change language according to status, power, and social distance. 3. Communicative purpose. Formal language conveys seriousness, shows academic competence, and informal language creates comfort and builds solidarity with peers. Sociolinguistic theory. There's a theory in Fishman theory. Joshua Fishman expanded Ferguson's theory. According to Fishman, different language varieties are used depending on topic, settings, and participant. So there's a context and variety in this sociolinguistic Fishman theory. The context is seminar presentation. The variety is formal Indonesian. And context in peer discussion, and the variety is informal Indonesian. Meaning conveyed in interaction. Meaning of formal Indonesian and meaning of informal Indonesian. I will explain meaning in informal Indonesian first. Formal Indonesian conveys intelligence, professionalism, academic authorities, and seriousness. In meaning of informal Indonesian, there are closeness, friendliness, equality, and solidarity. The important point is the speaker is not changing identity completely. The speaker is adapting linguistic to social context. Sociolinguistic function. And the first function is to maintaining social structure. Formal language respect academic hierarchy. 2. Building solidarity. Informal language creates peer intimacy. 3. Identity construction. The speaker shows professionalism, social belonging, and adaptability. 4. Communication efficiency. Different varieties help speakers communicate effectively in different situations. And here are some critical analysis. Big usia also reflect power relation, institutional norms, and educational expectation. For the lecture, use formal language to maintain authority and professionalism. And for the students, switch varieties to fit social expectation and avoid social distance with peers. Thus, language becomes a tool for negotiating social identity. In conclusion, the seminar interaction demonstrates diplomacy because formal Indonesian is used in academic context, and information Indonesian is used in peer interaction. And the main function is maintaining academic norms, expressing solidarity, adapting to social context, and managing identity. And for the final point is language variety is not random. It reflects social structure, relationship, and communicative purpose. Here are some references that I use. Moving on to study case number 2. Code alternation, style shifting, code mixing, and code switching. Case description. During a group discussion, students frequently mix Indonesian and English. For example, student number 1. Menurut saya, this concept is very important untuk kita pahami. Student number 2. Speaks in full English. Let us switch back to Indonesian when talking to another peer. The main question is, what sociolinguistic phenomena appears in this interaction? Linguistic phenomena identified. 1. Code mixing. Mixing two languages within one sentence. Example, Menurut saya, this concept is very important untuk kita pahami. 2. Code switching, changing from one language to another between units. Example, student speaks English first, later changes to Indonesian. 3. Style shifting, changing speaking style according to audience or context. And 4. Code alternation, alternating between language system and during interaction. Code mixing. Definition of code mixing. Code mixing occurs when speaker insert words, phrase, or clause from another language into a sentence. Munchkin's theory said code mixing is all cases where lexical items and grammatical features from two languages appear in one sentence. For example, from the case, menurut saya, this concept is very important untuk kita pahami. Indonesian structure plus English phrase are combined in one utterance. Why does code mixing occur? And the reason is 1. Bilingual ability. Students understand both Indonesian and English. 2. Academic environment. English terms are common in education. 3. Prestige and modern identity. English may symbolize intelligence, globalization, academic competence, and the last reason is vocabulary efficiency. Some English academic terms are easier or more familiar. Code switching. Definition is code switching occurs when speakers change language between sentence or interaction. Theory from Gombers is code switching is the juxtaposition within the same speech exchange of passage belongs to two different grammatical systems. An example in the case is student speaks English during discussion, and 2. Let us switch back to Indonesian with another friend. Types of code switching. There are two types in code switching. The first one is situational switching. Language change because the situation changed. For example, English in academic discussion, and 2. Indonesian is in casual peer interaction. 2. Metaphorical switching. Language change to express social meaning or identity. For example, English may express academic seriousness and intellectual identity. Style shifting. Definition of style shifting is happens when speakers adjust their speaking style depending on audience, formality, and social relationship. Theory from Bell Audience Design. Speakers design their speech according to listeners. An example is for students, use formal English in discussion, and 2. Use casual Indonesian with close friends. Code alternation. Definition of code alternation. Code alternation refers to alternating use of two languages in interaction. Unlike code mixing, alternation usually involves larger language segments, and 2. Languages remain more structurally separated. An example is for one student is speaks full English and 2 then change to Indonesian later. Communicative meaning. Meaning conveyed by this practice. In English use conveys education, intelligence, professionalism, and modern identity. In Indonesian use convey solidarity, comfort, intimacy, and social closeness. Sociolinguistic function. There are four sociolinguistic roles. The first one is identity construction. Students display bilingual identity. 2. Group solidarity. Switching language creates peer connection. And 3. Academic function. English supports academic discussion. 4. Social adaptation. Speakers adjust language according to context and listeners. Critical sociolinguistic analysis. Here's some broader sociolinguistic perspective. In the interaction reflects globalization, influence of English in education, and bilingual culture among students. English associated with prestige, higher education, international knowledge. Indonesia maintains local identity and social intimacy. Thus, language choice becomes a social strategy. In conclusion, the interaction demonstrates several sociolinguistic phenomena: code mixing, code switching, style shifting, and the last is code automation. The main reason is for bilingual competence, audience adaptation, academic environment, and identity expression. Here are some journal references that I use. Next part is style shifting, study case number 3. Explanation of the linguistic phenomenon. Style shifting is a social-linguistic phenomenon in which speakers change their way of speaking depending on the social situation, audience, or setting. A person may use formal language in academic or professional context and informal language in casual conversation with friends or family. In the case above, the students use formal style during the class participation for a complete sentence, polite expression, academic vocabulary, and careful pronunciation. Explanation of the linguistic phenomenon. After class, the student changes to informal style with close friends, such as slang or casual words, shortened expression, relaxed pronunciation, more emotional or humorous tone. According to William Leboeuf, style shifting occurs because speakers adjust their speech according to social context and attention to speech. Meanwhile, Howard Giles, through communication optimization theory, explains that people modify their language to fit the people around them and create social comfort. Analysis of why the phenomenon occurs. The phenomenon occurs because language is closely connected to social identity, audience expectation, relationship, and communication goals. When presenting in front of the class, the students want to appear educated and competent, show respect to the teacher and classmates, maintaining professionalism, and meet academic expectations. Therefore, the students choose a more formal speaking style. Meaning conveyed in the interaction. The change in speaking style conveys several meanings. There are two meanings in this interaction, and the first one is informal situation for seriousness, intelligence, professionalism, and respect, and two, informal conversation with friends, such as closeness, friendliness, relaxation, and solidarity. The student's formal styles during presentation communication. An example is 1. I respect this academic situation. Example 2. I want to be understood clearly. Example 3. I want to appear competent. Meanwhile, the informal styles offer class communication. We are equals. I feel comfortable with you. Or this interaction is casual and personal. Thus, style shifting is not random. It carries important social meaning. Sociolinguistic function or role in context. Style shifting has several sociolinguistic functions, and the first one is maintaining social appropriateness. Different situations require different language styles. Formal language is appropriate in academic settings, while informal language is acceptable among friends. 2. Expressing identity. Speakers shows different sides of themselves depending on context. The students may present an academic identity in class and a friendly identity outside class. 3. Building social relationship. Informal language helps strengthen friendship and solidarity. Formal language helps maintaining professionalism and respect. 4. Managing social distance. Formal styles create distance and authority, while informal style reduces distance and creates closeness. 5. Achieving communication goals. The students use formal language to communicate ideas clearly during presentation and informal language to interact comfortably with peers of the words. Here are some relevant sociolinguistic theories. The first is Love style shifting theory. William Labov explained that speakers shift styles depending on the level of attention they pay to speech. More attention usually results in more formal language. 2. Communication or communication theory, or CAT. Howard Giles states that speakers adjust their language to gain approval, create solidarity, or fit social expectation. 3. Audience design theory. Alan Bell argues that language variety is influenced by the audience being addressed. Here's some academic journals reference that I use. The case number 4, code mixing analysis. The case is, aku lagi ngerjain assignment yang deadline-nya besok, jadi harus cepat selesai. This utterance combines Indonesian and English elements in one sentence. The English words assignment and deadlines are inserted into an Indonesian grammatical structure. Explanation of the linguistic phenomenon. The sentence is an example of code mixing, which occurs when a speaker inserts words, phrase, or linguistic elements from one language into another language within the same utterance. In sociolinguistics, code mixing is common among bilingual or multilingual speakers. In this case, the speakers mainly use Indonesian but inserted English lexical items for assignments and deadlines. According to Hoffman theory, this belongs to intra-essential code mixing because the mixing occurs within a single sentence. Code mixing often appears in informal conversation, especially among students, young people, and social media users in multilingual societies such as Indonesian. Analysis of why the phenomena occurs. Several sociolinguistic factors influence the speaker use of code mixing. 1. For academic environment. The words assignment and deadlines are commonly used in educational settings. Students are frequently exposed to English terminology through lectures, textbooks, online learning platforms, and social media. 2. Practical and habit. Certain English words are considered shorter, or more familiar, or more practical than their Indonesian equivalents. For example, assignments, yang artinya adalah tugas, dan deadline, artinya batas waktu. 3. Identity and modern lifestyle. Code mixings may also reflect social identity. Young bilingual speakers often use English expression to sound educated, modern, global, or connected to academic culture. 2. Influence of digital communication. Social media, online classes, podcasts, and internet culture contribute significantly to the spread of English vocabulary in Indonesian conversation. Modern communication encourages flexible language use. Convey in the interaction. The utterance convey the speaker is currently working on a task. The task must be completed quickly because it is due tomorrow. The use of English words emphasizes the academic context of the conversation. The mixed code also creates a casual and natural tone among peers who share similar linguistic backgrounds. The sentence shows that the speaker is comfortable using both Indonesian and English simultaneously. Sociolinguistic function or role in context. Sociolinguistic function or role in context. The sociolinguistic function of code mixing in the interaction include 1. Referential function. The speaker uses English terms because they are more specific or commonly organized in academic context. 2. Social media function. Social uh, 2. Social identity function. Code mixing signals membership in educated or bilingual students community. 3. Communicative efficiency. Using English terms can make communication faster and more efficient because the audience already understands the vocabulary. 4. Informal peer solidarity. The mixed language creates closeness and solidarity among students who commonly communicate in this style. Some relevant theories. The first one is Hoffman. Hoffman explained that code mixing occurs when speakers mix elements from different languages within one utterance. One commonly type is intra-essential code mixing. where mixing happens inside a sentence. 2. Myers-Scotton-Martinez model. Myers-Scotton states that bilingual speakers choose language codes strategically to express identity, social relationship, and communicative intention. Conclusion, the sentence "Aku lagi ngerjain assignment yang datangnya besok, jadi harus cepat selesai" is an example of interessential thought mixing between Indonesian and English. The phenomenon occurs because of bilingual competence, academic influence, habit, efficiency, and social identity. In sociolinguistic context, code mixing functions as a communicative strategy that reflects modern students' culture and bilingual interaction. And here are some journal reference. Study case number 5, code switching analysis. Case. During a class discussion, students begin speaking in Indonesian but switching entirely to English when explaining a concept, then return to Indonesian when giving example. Menurut saya, teori ini cukup penting. This concept explains how language reflects social identity and communication patterns. Jadi, contohnya bisa dilihat dari percakapan sehari-hari mahasiswa. Explanation of the linguistic phenomenon. The phenomenon in this interaction is called code switching. Code switching occurs when bilingual or multilingual speakers alternate between two or more languages during communication. In this case, the students 1. Start in Indonesian, and 2. Switch completely to English while explaining theory. 3. Return to Indonesian when giving examples. This type is classified as intersensational code switching because the language changes between sentences or clauses. According to sociolinguistic theory, code switching commonly appears in bilingual communities where speakers are fluently in more than one language. Analysis of why language shift occurs is the first reason is academic and educational context. English is often associated with academic terminology, theories, and formal explanation. Students may feel that explaining concepts in English sounds more precise, professional, or academically appropriate. For example, terms like social identity, communication patterns, and language reflect society are frequently encountered in English textbooks and journals. As a result, students naturally switch to English when discussing academic concepts. 2. Bilingual competence. The speaker is likely bilingual and comfortable using both Indonesian and English. Bilingual speakers often switch language consciously depending on topic, audience, or communicative purpose. 3. Communicative efficiency. Some ideas may be easier to express in English because the speaker learned the concept using English materials. Switching codes helps the speaker explain the ideas more fluently and efficiently. 4. Social identity and prestige. Using English in academic discussion can also signal intelligence, education, modernity, or global identity. In many university settings, English has high prestige and is associated with professionalism. 5. Audience adaptation. The speakers return to Indonesian when giving example because Indonesian is easier for classmates to understand in practical explanation. This shows the speakers adjust language according to listeners' comprehension and intersectional needs. Meaning conveyed in interaction. The interaction conveys several explanations. The speakers want to explain the concept clearly and academically. 2. English is used to emphasize theoretical or formal information. 3. Indonesian is used to make the example more relatable and understandable. The language shift reflects the speaker's flexibility in managing communication. This also demonstrates bilingual identity and academic competence. Sociolinguistic function or role in context. 1 is for a reflexival function. The speakers switch to English because certain academic concepts are more familiar or effective in English terminology. 2. Classification function. A return to Indonesian helped clarify the explanation and ensure the classmates fully understand the example. 3. Identity function. Code switching reflects the speaker identity as an educated bilingual students who participate in academic discourse. 4. Intersectional function. According to recent sociolinguistic studies, code switching can function as intersectional resource to organize conversation, maintaining engagement, and adapt communication to audience needs. 5. Prestige and professionalism. In educational settings, English may symbolize academic authorities and global knowledge. Switching into English can therefore increase the perceived seriousness or credibility of the explanation. Here are some relevant theories. Paul Black. Paul Black classified code switching into 1. Text switching, 2. Intersectional switching, 3. Intersectional switching. This case belongs to intersectional switching because the speaker changes language between sentences. 2. Mayers-Golden-Martinez model. Mayers-Golden argues that bilingual speakers use language codes to express social relationship, identity, and communicative intention. The use of English in academic explanation reflects a marked choice associated with education and prestige. Gombers. Gombers explained that code switching serves social and communicative purposes such as classification, emphasizes group identity, and conversational strategy. The students switch language strategically to match topic and audience. To conclude, the interaction is an example of intersectional code switching between Indonesian and English. The language shift occurs because of bilingual ability, academic influence, communicative efficiency, identity expression, and audience adaptation. Sociolinguistically, code switching functions to clarify meaning, express identity, maintaining interaction, and create academic credibility within classroom discussion. Here are some journal references that I use. Study case number 6, dialect analysis. Case. Students from different regions in Indonesia interact in a classroom. Some use standard Indonesian, while others incorporate regional dialect features such as pronunciation, vocabulary, or intonation. Example, a student from Jakarta says, "Gue udah ngerti materinya." 2. A student from Sunda area may use Sundanese intonation or vocabulary while speaking Indonesian. 3. A student from East Java may pronounce words with stronger regional accents. This interaction reflects dialect variation in classroom communication. Explanation of the linguistic phenomenon. The phenomenon shown in this case is called dialect variation. A dialect is a variety of language used by particular groups of speakers based on region, social background, or community identity. Dialects may differ in pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and intonation. In Indonesia, dialect diversity is very common because the country has hundreds of regional language and ethnic groups. Even when students use Indonesian, their regional background still influences the way they speak. For example, Jakarta Indonesian use words like gue and lo. Japanese speakers may have softer intonation. Batak speakers are often perceived as having stronger intonation patterns. Sundanese speakers may transfer Sundanese pronunciation into Indonesian. Dialect differences are part of natural social-linguistic variation in multilingual society. Analysis of why dialect variation occurs. The first one is regional and cultural background. Students grow up in a different linguistic environment. Their first language or local dialect influence how they speak Indonesian. For example, a student from West Java may be influenced by Sundanese phonology. 2. A student from Surabaya may carry East Japanese accent features into Indonesian. This phenomenon is called language interference or dialect influence. 2. Social identity. Dialect often reflect identity and regional pride. Students may maintain dialect features internationally or consciously to show where they come from. According to sociolinguistic research, dialect function as a marker of social and cultural identity. 3. Daily communication habits. Students usually use their regional language at home or in their community. Because of repeated exposure, dialect patterns naturally appear during classroom interaction. 3. Multilingual environment. Indonesia is a multilingual society where people commonly use local language, Indonesian, and sometimes English. This multilingual situation occurs linguistic variation and dialect diversity in educational settings, conveying in the interaction. 2 is regional identity. Dialect shows the speaker's ethnic or regional background. Other students may immediately recognize where someone comes from through pronunciation or vocabulary. 3. Familiarity and comfort. Using dialect features can create a relaxed and natural atmosphere among peers. Students often feel more comfortable expressing themselves using familiar speech style rather than fully formal Indonesian. 3. Social relationship. Dialect may also indicate closeness, solidarity, or group membership. Students from similar regions may also socially connected through shared linguistic features. 4. Authentic self-expression. Dialects allow speakers to express personality and identity more authentically instead of strictly following standard language form. Linguistic function or role in context. 1. Identity function. A dialect acts as a marker of cultural and regional identity. According to Sociolinguistic, language variation helps speakers maintain a connection with their social group and community. 2. Solidarity function. Students who share similar dialects may develop stronger social closeness and group solidarity. For example, students from the same region may communicate more properly using shared dialect features. 3. Communication function. Although dialect difference may enrich interaction, they can also create misunderstanding if listeners are unfamiliar with certain vocabulary, pronunciation, or intonation. Research on classroom discourse shows that dialect diversity can both support identity expression and create communication challenge. 3. Educational function. Exposed to different dialects helps students develop sociolinguistic awareness and intercultural understanding. Students learn language diversity, tolerance, and adaptation in communication. 3. Prestige and language attitude. Standards Indonesian is often associated with formality and education, while regional dialects may signal informality and local identity. This creates language attitudes where some dialects are considered more prestigious than others. Here are some relevant theories. William Lobov version theory. Lobov explains that language naturally varies according to social and regional factors. Dialect differs from reflect identity, geography, and interaction patterns. 2. Holmes. Holmes states that language variation is influenced by participant, settings, topic, and social context. In a multilingual society, speakers adjust their dialects depending on situation and audience. 3. Trucknell dialect theory. Peter Trucknell agrees that dialect is closely related to regional identity and social background. Dialect variation is a normal characteristic of speech communities. To conclude, the classroom interaction demonstrated dialect variation among Indonesian students from different regions. Dialect difference occurs because of regional backgrounds, cultural identity, and daily communicative habits, and multilingual society. Sociolinguistically, dialect functions as a marker of identity, solidarity, and communication style, and cultural diversity. Although dialect variation may sometimes create misunderstanding, it also enhances intersection and promotes sociolinguistic awareness in educational settings. Here are some journal references that I use. And that's all my presentation Part 2 Project Sociolinguistic. Thank you for listening, Miss.